Shut you guys off? Oh, there you
We are starting. Are we live? We are live. We are live. Hello, my beautiful people. Woohoo! We are back on our pop-up conversation, weekly pop-up conversations with my beautiful co-hosts, Michelle and Lorna. Hello, hello, my ladies. How is everyone doing? Say hello. Let us know where you're tuning from and say hello to us, and we'd love to hear from you. And today on us, maybe you're new in the group, so welcome. We're having this pop-up conversation every week when we talk about random but not that random subjects that we all going through as entrepreneurs and not just as humans. And today we were talking about three things that we see how we're gonna unwave. They came to us. One was growth, shame, and second chances. So, ladies, what these three have in common?
you, you gotta you gotta feel the shame to have the growth to get the second chances. My question is, what are we feeling shame about? Lorna's
Mm.
always got good answers for this one.
Well, I think it does. This is a great topic, and each of us, when we came up with or when the idea came to us, it's kind of like, how? You're right. Let's explore and see how what comes up about this. I talk about the shroud of shame, and in my realm of working at things through the sexual aspect of things initially, but it really starts to ripple out of how there's this shame of so many things, and the shroud of shame. When you think about a shroud, it's what covers up something, um, seemingly something that is dead. But often it's when you take off that shroud, you realize that not only is there real true life in there, but that's actually the treasure. There's maybe actually more the truth that has been hidden in that shroud of shame. And so to be able to really appreciate anytime there is shame there, it's that place, as I say, and my experience is that we really come into this place of, oh, don't acknowledge, don't admit somehow what will people think. So it's very much connected to, in the storyline, that aspect of someone or something outside of us. How will we be perceived? How will I stack up? How will I compare to? Am I okay? Am I enough? Am I valuable? All of those things. Somehow that shame of whether it's body image, whether it's success in a business, that aspect, even growth, physical growth. I think about different people. Well, I've grown big. I'm not growing, and there's somehow that shame as if we're supposed to be a certain way. And it seems like somehow it always is other than what we are. So let's dive in and see what's really the truth that's hiding behind and beneath that shroud of shame.
Well, what though? Like, I always get shame and guilt, I think, confused. Like, what is
Mm.
the actual difference between shame and guilt? Just to be clear, what we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
I think that from my experience, it seems that the guilt is somehow I've done something wrong, or I don't want anybody to find out. But the shame is actually somehow even goes to a core essence beyond our activities. It taps down into this core essence of somehow who I am is
Right.
is not enough as opposed to what I'm just doing. But it speaks to that existential shame.
Yeah. I love exactly. I'm 100% with Lorna. For me, shame is like a personal thing. Shame, I have this distinguish. Shame is internal, guilt is external. Is
Mm.
produced because something happened with the external that make me feel guilty about something. And then shame, it's something that I feel it disregard of what's happening outside or not happening inside. But either way, now I know that both of them are adopted.
Mm.
We as children, we didn't were born, raised later on, but the first couple of days, months, we didn't grow up with that. We know what that is. If you ask a baby if he could speak to you, ask him about if he's ashamed or feels guilty. I don't think so. Let me give you some practical examples.
Mhm.
Do you think a baby is feels guilty or he feels guilty when he throw up on your Gucci beautiful dress? I don't think so. Do you think a baby feels ashamed that he's naked in front of everybody as everybody exposing him? Look at my beautiful baby, he's all naked. Oh, it's so cute. I don't think he feels ashamed of his body. I don't think a baby or a toddler looks in the mirror, like, until 3 years old. They look in the mirror and it's like, oh my God, look at my chubby legs. I think I need to be on a diet. So I truly believe, and I witness it and I see it and I study it about it, that shame and guilt are one of the heaviest at the core of our emotions. We need them, don't get me wrong, we need them, but in a moderate amount. But it's something that we've been indoctrinated and adopted. It's not something that we were born with. They say that the only two fears, or the only two things, that emotions that we are born with, was the fear of loud noises and a fear of falling. That's it. That's the only two core things we come as a baby. Everything else we adopted.
Interesting.
Starting with our parents saying, hey, stop crying. You make me look bad as a parent, or whatever they say. Or you should be ashamed of what you just said. How could you say something like that? My question is, how could you ask a question to a toddler that doesn't have a neurocortex of a brain to think? A child until 3 years old, they don't think, literally. You cannot tell your child why you're not thinking, because they don't have a brain to think yet with. It's not developed. So that's why it's important to talk about shame, and it's important to talk about the opposite of it, of growth. When you feel shame, when you live in shame and guilt, you're not growing. So if you want to grow, then you need to find the root cause of why you feel this way, to realize it's not yours, it's the emotion you adopted from someone else. So then you realize that you have nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, like use and guilt, but use shame and guilt as the flags to that is the thing that it flags the thing that there's a treasure down there to to find. And I actually did that today, and it's interesting how it pops up. Like it can literally pop up, even those things that come when, before our brains are formed at 3 and 4 and that sort of thing, how it affects the different domains of life, right? And I used to do in Veterans Affairs, I used to be a case manager helping people sort of assess their domains of life, and you go through all the places, and it would be interesting to see where they were hung up based on shame like that. And even for me, for today, I was working on my business, and I'm like, I have some shame about billing and collection and receiving. And where does that come from? Why am I not able to bill people when I've done the work and they owe the money and I haven't done it? So like these very personal things. And then when you get down to it, it dug down to a level of receiving and self-love and worthiness and belonging and all of these pieces that had nothing to do with billing. And so when we were tripping across these blocks that we have in our lives and in our business and our relationship or whatever, it's always the flag to go back into to finding the place where we can grow and reprogramming that and unhooking not just the mental narratives, but also it creates blockages in our fields, in our energetic fields, and stops up our ability to kind of manifest, right? And if we're the ones that are creating our own realities and we're putting out things and we've got the shame that's blocking, we're going to have a heck of a time trying to attract the right thing. So I always feel like shame and guilt are a flag for growth. But then what do you do about it? Right? That's the piece I think that is the what leads me, at least in my head, to the second chances bit. Because when we in order to deserve a second or to get a second chance, there's some sort of action that has to be taken, right? And I mean, Adriana, your whole thing is about, building that confidence. You can't have confidence. You don't just like conjure up confidence. You take steps and then you get the confidence from achieving the steps, right? So I'd be interested to hear what you guys, when you feel the shame and you recognize the opportunity of growth, what's your pathway to the next steps out of that?
Lorna?
Uh, I would say that there's not necessarily any one, and it'll depend on each person's journey. For some people, it will be sort of how to move beyond, how to reclaim that. For some people, it's about seeing through the illusion of it. Some people, it's okay, can I actually get excited? Oh, there's shame showing up. That means that there's gold. There's gold in them thar hills. So this aspect of, I don't think there's anyone. Some people will get lost in the shame. Some people will, because it goes to such a deep core thing. When it's connected to that sense of identity, they will lose themselves either in a human experience or in that egoic experience. And then how do they come through or go on or not? So for me, it's really not any one way, but in any of those cases, I think that a key piece is that recognition, that acknowledgement of, oh, it's here. Now what do I do with it? Where do I go from here? So when, like, again, I've said various times that piece about how, asking a fish, what's it like to be in water? But when you don't know it's there, you just keep on going. When you become aware of it, it's kind of, okay, wow, where do we go from here?
Yeah. Awareness is definitely something that it's a first step. I always says like you can change something that you're not aware of. And it's important that if you cannot do it by yourself, at least if you have the willingness to figure it out, then definitely find someone to help you to see it for you before you see it. Because most of the times we don't see it, we are in it. You can see the label on the jar if you're inside the jar. You have to someone look at your jar, see it, and then knock on it, on your jar and say, hey, are you willing to open it and have a chat and maybe get out?
That's
And
true.
I think that's why we need the help on the beginnings. Like I couldn't see my own BS for many years. I lived in shame. I lived in guilt. I'm not saying that there portions of it that I still crawl back into my jar and then I close it and then complain about it. But that's why I have the right people in my life, like these beautiful ladies, to look at outside because they cannot be. I'm the only one I can be in my own jar. They can only look at me from outside. So that's why we need the right people in our lives, that we trust them enough that when they open that jar and tell us what they see, we don't tell them they're crazy. We actually sit and think like, wait a minute, they see something I don't see. So
That's
it's
true.
all about perspective and allowing yourself, allowing the right people that you trust and they want your being, your well-being, and they want the best for you, to see what, or you to see through their eyes. Once you're able to see through their eyes, now's the second part of it comes, which I call it curiosity. Now I saw a little bit through their eyes that is a possibility that I might not be right. So now I'm getting myself out of the jar, maybe with their help, maybe not. It's up to each person how many tools and growth they already had. And then I have the curiosity to start looking more into it. And once I have the curiosity, now I have the curiosity to ask the right questions. And even now that I'm going to my own process, I ask myself, instead of going dive deep like I used to do, dive deep into find out where is this shame happen and how many years ago and what exactly. I don't think we even need that anymore. Now I got to the point that I don't need to know exactly when and what happened, when I got the shame. If it's the shame of my grandma or is mine or is my mother, who cares? It's not going to change the feelings. I still going to have that feeling. So what I witness now is that sitting with it, because that shame is an emotion that nobody sat with it, not even myself when I was a child, because I didn't have the tools.
Mhm.
So now I don't have to care about when and what happened. I just have to sit with it, because like any emotion doesn't last more than a couple of seconds. Hey, not 90 seconds. As soon you sit with it, it just poof, evaporates. Everything that comes after that, I keep feeling the emotion of shame, of guilt, or whatever that is because I'm feeding it. I keep feeding it, and I keep going back to it. So it's the awareness, the curiosity, and now the willingness to take steps to say, I have guilt. Or instead of saying, I have a guilt, say, my mind tells me I feel guilty about this. But think of the word, my mind. So it's not me. My mind is not me. My
Mhm.
emotion is not me. It's mine. That means it's something that is not me. It's out there around me. So I have control over it. So because I have control over it, I choose, I know this is a hard pill to swallow, but we choose to continue to feel it or not by feeding it. This is the exercise I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, that every time I have a thought that produces a feeling, a sensation, that produces an emotion, and I keep feeding that every 90 seconds, and I wonder why I'm going crazy. What I do now, when I catch myself, which is requires awareness, I say, stop. I literally say to my mind, and I say to that, stop. Try it. I really encourage everyone to try it, to say stop. You're going to hear for a fraction of a second, actually everything stops. And on the beginning, you might have to say stop, 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 stop a million times. But what you choose best is to continue staying your emotion and the consequences of that guilt and shame and all that stuff. Or on the beginning, you drive your mind crazy by saying stop until you start reprogramming and retraining your mind.
But that is the break that allows the second chance,
Yes.
right?
Because the second chance is literally a couple of seconds. They say in the neuroscience, they say that it takes 7 seconds. If you pass 7 seconds, you out of control. Your mind is gonna kick in and it's gonna make you tell you and make you to do what it needs to do. If you have that gap of 7 seconds to say stop, to break that circuit for a second or two, and then take a different action. If you pass the 7 seconds, you bye-bye.
It's a bit like that. I don't even know who it was where I think I heard it from Tony Robbins, but I don't know if it was sort of like the pain is life that there's pain is inevitable, that suffering is optional. And this is the two arrows where the first one hits and yeah, that's gonna hurt. But you get to choose in that space between, when in between when something happens and your reaction to it,
Yeah.
that you get that space to choose what you're gonna do with it.
Yeah, and it's yes, it sounds like hard work, but it's always I ask myself, because I say to myself, I'm like, oh my God, this is exhausting. I'm telling myself a million times, stop, stop, stop. But do I choose which pain I choose? What poison do you choose to drink? The one that I keep swirling and drinking myself down into the what I have done for the last 40 years? Or this one that I keep saying myself, stop, 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 maybe for a month, maybe for 2, maybe for 3, but I promise in 3 months, I already rewire my brain. Because it takes 3 months to rewire your brain, at least 3 to 6 months. So I'm paying 6 months of pain, or I'm paying another 40 years of same BS I did until now.
Yeah.
That is the question.
And as we're talking here, it's reminding me that piece about the example that I like to give is that of orgasm and ejaculation. That oftentimes in a male body, We think an ejaculation is an orgasm, and it's not. They're two things. Because they happen at the same time, we think, oh, we've just orgasmed. It's kind of like, no, there's ejaculation and there's orgasm. You can ejaculate without orgasming. You can orgasm without ejaculating. And it's the same thing with our thoughts. And when we think about an emotion is a thought plus a feeling, that sensation. And so when we have that sensation happen and we've been taught to label it, then when it happens at the same time, we think, oh, I'm feeling this emotion. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling ashamed. And it's kind of like, no, that's the word we've been taught to attach to what we're feeling inside. So it's, we think about this, like, here's my phone. It's actually, no, this isn't a phone. This is what it is. This is just this. We call it a phone so we can have a reference to it. And so when we're in a certain thing, as long as we're holding on to, right, as we attach to those thoughts that keep coming and they're swirling and going and over, right? Instead of stop, say, okay, wait a minute. That's pointing to a feeling. And now let's go in and just feel it. Let's just go ahead and feel it. And when we've been taught there are sensations we want to feel that are positive or desirable, ones we don't want to feel, shame, guilt, some of those lower vibration words, whatever, negative words, it's to be able to not feel those. So we keep above, like a buoy, like a little floater on the fish line, right? It keeps it above surface rather than let's let it go and let's go down in and feel. And I think that's a big part from my own experience and what I teach, but it comes from my own experience is some of those things are hard to feel because we've been taught, oh, we shouldn't feel that. It's too whatever. And I say, oh, there's the gold. Let's go in and feel. Let's find out what's there.
We all need to stop shooting on ourselves. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think there's been some
I
growth.
love it. This has been cool. The growth. Yeah. Yeah.
We always love this conversation because
Yeah.
we never know what's coming up for each one of us, including ourselves. Like we never know what's going to come out of my mouth this time, but yeah, I trust that whatever needs to come, it's sometimes I look back to this when I need it, when I'm not that brave, when I need more courage, and I remind myself this kind of ideas that and it's all about practice, I was listening a podcast and it was someone asking is like knowledge, how important is knowledge, especially in the day where we have knowledge at our fingers. And the lady said absolutely zero. And the host was like, what do you mean? We are in a podcast. We talk about knowledge. It's all about knowledge. And she's like, yeah, knowledge without action is zero. You can know all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not putting it in practice, it's absolutely zero. There's no growth in that. So it doesn't matter how much we study, and then I will speak to myself now, just for the FOI. That doesn't matter how much knowledge I know, and doesn't matter how many books and podcasts and coaches and mentors and things like that I do. One thing I realized that if I don't take action, I'm never going to grow. So that's where my second chance is to give yourself, as I'm saying to myself, to give myself a chance every single day. Is nothing wrong that I feel ashamed today and tomorrow I don't, and the day after I feel again. That second chance comes over and over again, as many times you're willing to give it to yourself if you want to grow. And shame and guilt is part of our humanness. Yeah, figure out we're humans. You feel shame and guilt. Welcome to the human world and this fun game called life. And it's if you don't feel it, then you have a problem.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So just feel
fun.
the feelings, let them feel. It means that you're growing. Every time we keep ourselves of feelings, then we stop our growth. And give yourself a second chance every time you have a chance, every time you choose that chance, no?
It's amazing what you know, how we're designed to process so much. And I'm really looking forward to this Sunday when we start processing some grief. So this Sunday on the 1st, we get to have a bunch of amazing women on who are going to be talking about the various aspects of grief and how to process that, anticipatory grief, grief from loss of self-identity, financial loss grief, all sorts of different types of grief, because that is a topic with many facets that we could process all day. So if you are dealing with grief or you know someone who is, go ahead and invite them to the group. We can watch it live in our Body, Mind, and Soul Connections group. And yeah, we'll be looking forward to that. Hope you can make it.
Yeah, we'll love
Mm.
to have you there. We're excited to see you. Bring your friends, bring those that might going through something, because we all at one point we're going through this. Is another emotion that is we all humans feel it at one point in our life, whatever thing or person or identity or thing you lose, we all lose something, and we're gonna feel that feeling, and you're gonna learn from amazing people through their experiences, their expertise, and you don't want to miss this. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for popping in. Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, Michelle, for these beautiful conversations. We'll see you next week. For those that are going to join us on Sunday, see you Sunday. We're going to drop the link so you can register as well and invite your beautiful people. And if you love what you hear, comment below. Let us know what you think, or if you have a subject that you would like us to touch on the next upcoming pop-up conversation, let us know. Take care, everyone. Feel the feelings and see you next time.